Incredible. So you visited your dad. You get home and you ended up visiting him on a regular basis in jail, right? So what did that look like? What was it like as how old are you? And what was it like going into is it a jail or a prison?
Is there a difference? I don't know.
Well, I think a jail is short term while you're awaiting trial, and prison is like after trial, you go to prison for the term of your sentence.
Ah, I don't know. I think it was prison. I think he was put in prison. It wasn't just a jail cell. It wasn't maximum security. It
Yeah.
was probably medium or so. But I had never even been to a jail before. I'd never visited anyone in a prison. So the whole thing was strange. But I do know that there was a gate. It was a big building. There was barbed wire all around. So probably more of a prison situation. And I was about 23 at the time. I was in college, maybe a little bit younger. I was newly married, and this was completely outside of my comfort zone. So I was scared. I remember being really
Yeah.
scared and afraid, and I was sitting in the waiting room with all the other people waiting to visit their family members and a lot of gang members, a lot of tattoos. And I came from a very wholesome
An
upper middle
Orthodox Jewish family.
life where nobody got tattoos and had earrings and so it was very different
Went to
and very
prison.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And to me, I said earlier that your dad's arrest was the second most impactful part of the story for me because to me, this is the most impactful part of the story and maybe the thing that your whole life hinges on. And talk about vulnerability, your book. Will you just share what you asked of your dad and his
Yeah.
response and the dominoes thereafter?
Yeah, it's funny, but I feel like I'm gonna get a bit emotional because you're right. It wasn't so much the arrest which was shocking and traumatic, but what was more traumatic was his response to me when I showed up, kind of the oldest, the only one who was willing to go to jail and visit him
Yeah.
and bring him what he requested of me to bring him, food and cigarettes and even money, to smuggle money in and different things. But I asked for some more, for the truth. And I didn't really need to know the details. I understand that he couldn't tell me everything because he was awaiting trial, but I wanted him to be more honest with me as a person. I wanted him to show up and just say something that was meaningful. In other words, even an apology, not for what he did, but even for putting us through
Yeah.
this suffering, being on the front page of the newspaper and
Mm,
all the confusion, and or at least maybe to recognize it, to say something of a meaning, of something with heart, to bring his heart to the meeting. And because all of our times together, we're really just talking about nothing. Um, the very little personal connection.
yeah.
And more just talking about, not the weather, but maybe what was happening in prison or what was going on at home. But there wasn't this feeling of connection. There wasn't this feeling of authenticity or truth. And he didn't seem to care. He didn't seem to care at all about what happened. He didn't have anything to say about it. And we were sort of left suffering and picking up the pieces of this big mess that he made. And it was really hard for me. And I asked him to explain or to give me a little more or to open up a little more and be more honest about our relationship. And when I did that, he was unable to do so. And he looked at me and said, "I never want to see you again." That was his response. And that is true. That was a much bigger trauma and shaped my life because I walked out of there feeling as if I asked for the truth or I asked for more and I was rejected. I was kind of thrown out for being
It's
real.
unthinkable. It's
Yeah.
unthinkable.
And I walked out of there and I knew at that moment that things would never be the same.